All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special guest with us. This is Elliot from SIMAGIC, and today we're going to talk things sim racing. We're going to talk things SIMAGIC, and Elliot is going to introduce himself so that yourself and I can actually get to know him a little bit and know more about SIMAGIC. So, Elliot, thanks very much for taking the time today.
Yeah, pleasure. Like I said earlier, happy to be here. Yeah, I'll introduce myself first. Obviously, my name's Elliot. I represent SIMAGIC on the global marketing and partnerships front. I actually joined the team early in 2024. So yeah, it's been over a year now with the guys. It's been like for us, like 2024 was obviously quite a quiet year in terms of releases. But yeah, heading into 25, we're yeah, pretty excited. And as you can see by my background, we've got
Yeah, I
stuff to
see
cover,
that.
stuff to talk about. So yeah, man. No, just stoked.
That's really cool. So we have some hardware from what you were saying that you'd like to talk about in the upcoming releases that we have this year, which is very cool. I think something a lot of people are curious about to starting off that I think people have been asking questions online that there has been some personnel changes in SimMagic. And are you able to kind of touch on that? Or, I don't think there's too much info online about it. Or is it anything people should be worried about? Or,
Yeah, for sure. Understandably, I mean, I think when anyone sees like a co-founder league, like people assume the worst. I can
yeah,
tell you there's like it's there's no bad blood. Like everyone's I still respect Tyler. I think, super passionate guy. And you'll take a lot of inspiration from that. I will say, like, he's not the only guy with passion. Like we have an entire team here of like engineers and people like me. We all love what we do and love sim racing. And yeah, he's moved on. You move on. The original founders cracking on with the products we've got coming up, and like I said, I mean we're kind of all hands to the pump and pretty excited for the upcoming releases.
that's really cool. Okay, so the show goes on. Awesome. So not
Show us
much
on that.
changes, really.
Yeah. No, no, not at all. I mean, yeah, we kind of just go, okay, that's now past us. Everyone's fine. Everyone's fine. Product's still going. Yes. Um, you know, nothing changes. We're still doing what we do and we're loving it. So yeah.
That's really cool. And I guess people would be curious to know, as the viewer, do you sim race yourself? And if you do, what sims do you enjoy?
You can verify that yourself, Jack. Actually, yeah, no, I do a lot of iRacing. I pride myself on it. I love it. I have a very modest goal. I want to get 3K and everything. Not even 3K on one thing yet, but getting there. Yeah, I'm kind of guy very much like jack of all trades. I love everything. I originally got into sim racing for the F1. Have done a lot of rally, and now iRacing is kind of where you'll find me. And obviously, other people on our team, like Elvin, which you'll see on like our social media, he's like super into ACC and esports. So we all
I
kind
see
of
that.
come from
Yeah,
like different backgrounds. Yeah,
you
no, he
might
loves
you
it.
you might have seen me do like a little laugh there. Yeah, so I've raced with Elliot once or twice. He's a big fan of dirt trucks and stuff. He's
I'm sorry.
slaughtered me every time would be the word. Left nothing on the table. So yeah, I've raced him.
I just,
All right.
yeah, we're both competing. We can't help ourselves. Man. But I think so many of us are. You know, iRacing especially is a great space for it. It's just so much out there. I just love it.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of cool simulators out there. There's a lot of people getting into sim racing as well, which is amazing. And seeing the way there's so much competition in the sim racing, I guess the manufacturer space with people like making hardware and stuff.
Totally,
That is
totally, and not even
awesome.
just hardware. Yeah, man. Now, especially, I think from the last year, we've seen software. Has really been an emerging thing as well. I mean, there's always been, especially on like the side of iRacing, things like Race Lab or overlays, setup shops. But now, complete AI coaches, stuff like Trophy AI, that's just come out of nowhere. I think a lot of us have been like caught by surprise, and I think um, rightfully so. A lot of people are pretty excited about where that might lead us. Um, Other skeptics, maybe not so much, but whatever. On the hardware front, yeah, man. I think you hear so like a golden era, a golden age when there's so much happening and there's a lot of healthy competition. And obviously, as we're talking, that we're just coming off the launch of Moses Active Pedal, and
Yeah,
they've done upgrades to their lineup and flight sim, and yeah, I mean that's just one example. But there's a bunch of manufacturers out there that are now going full send. They really want to bring their guns to the table, and obviously so do we. But yeah, it's a great time to be in sim racing, or even if you're just like getting started. I think the barrier to entry for high quality gear, especially, is getting lower and lower, easier and easier. Um, I think it's not going to be long before most kids are getting like direct drives under their Christmas tree, or even like full bundles. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Well, that would have been a dream like 4 or 5 years ago. That would have been, like, but
Yeah.
here we are. It's just that's the nature of it.
That's very interesting. Yeah, so it is growing quite a lot. It's cool to see the way the hardware is moving quite fast, and the software has to go fast and follow that hardware. You say with new pedals and new wheelbase technology coming out and stuff like that. It's just the way simulators kind of have to. Even the simulators, the games themselves have to kind of step their game up and feed more stuff into these new amazing hardwares. So
Yeah,
it's very cool.
we all kind of have to lean on each other. Where the developers and the games, they obviously have to be up to standard, and they have their own challenges, and then we have to make sure we are providing the best that we can, and it's competitive and it's the latest tech. And then same with these like third party software platforms as well. It's I mean, it all comes together, man. I mean, it's just it's incredible. I've had friends that have like just tried out sim racing for the first time this year, and they're like blown away. They had very low expectations, and then they come out going like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" Like, the first time, I mean, the first time you tried a direct drive, you probably felt the same way.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's awesome, man. I really do love the industry. I think it's such a cool thing and a cool time to be part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's cool to see a lot of people who've gamed for most of their younger years, but then obviously gaming can get a bit old. You do the shooters, you do this, you do PC gaming, and then, there's kind of not much there. Then it's like, well, have you tried sim racing? This could rekindle the
100%, man.
fire.
Yeah, no need for golf or any other huge hobbies where you have to go and leave the house and
There's still no
spend
need to
money
go
somewhere.
outdoors. There's no need to go
Yeah,
extreme.
no need, man. Overrated. Just take your
That's very
vitamin D
funny.
supplement.
One thing I
Yeah,
find
man,
is
that's
very
great.
cool is the accessibility of it all. So there's a lot of products coming out now that they're getting cheaper and cheaper. Like you guys obviously know yourself with the Neo brand you guys have done. Like the amount of people who've been able to spec out bundles for themselves, been able to kind of put a little bit more elsewhere or just been able to save so much money from their initial budget by the introduction of these kind of products that I think there's the P500 pedals. There is the GT Neo. You've come out with the Neo X Hub, which is completely configurable. People could go buy a rim in a car boot sale that they find for 10 quid, and if it matches, they can really put it on. You give that kind of, I don't know, that accessibility to people. It's nice to see that high quality stuff. Like if you imagine like a wheel like the GT Neo 6 years ago, it's like you couldn't really. And just to
For
see
the
that
price
kind of
point.
stuff,
Yeah,
for the
for sure.
price point, not a chance.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I know. I mean, I've come through all the other gear, and yeah, I know exactly what you're saying there. And I think Imagine in general, we're probably very, I think as a brand, quite careful and like methodical when it comes to this sort of thing. The
Okay.
founder is an engineer. Like this is all he does. He loves it. And I think that really shows. Like, if you put our wheels up against similar wheels at a price point, I think we typically tend to stand out as a better option. I think anyway, obviously biased, but um, and yeah, that's not going to change. In saying that, we do love that we're like expanding in this market. And I say expanding because some people are like worried that, oh, we're just cheaping out and we're going to go mainstream and we're forgetting about the high end. It's really not that. And we'll talk more about this soon, but this base is a sign of kind of what's to come. Whereas like we're trying to take the best parts of the high end and make it more accessible and just take the best parts and throw it into a base where you're not having to compromise, right? Where we do get these incredible features for such a more accessible price point. That's something that we kind of, like I said, pride ourselves on. It's very important to us.
That's very interesting. I know there's another sim racing content creator. He has this very nice slogan. It's sim racing is for everyone. And like always, you look at that sentence, it's just a nice sentence. You know what I mean? It's just
For
sim
sure.
racing is for everyone and should be for everyone. And seeing stuff like that. And I guess this is a nice little segue maybe to talk about the Evo when we talk about high performance and accessibility, or I guess price. We have this new
For
base
sure.
coming out. I don't know overly too much about it, apart from I guess what everyone else knows. So would you like to maybe talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you've got one behind you as well, which we
I
could
do.
pull up, but we'll we'll walk through it. So first of all, you might see, if my background lets me, the slogan we've gone for is an evolution in force, which I think is a really nice one. I'm pretty proud of this one. You know, really what we want people to think about because it's technically SIMAGIC Alpha Evo, right? It's not, we just call it Evo because it's easy, rolls off the tongue, but it really is
Yeah.
supposed to mark that this has been 4 years where we haven't released a new wheelbase at all. So you can imagine that all the developments that happened in the industry, and I think there's been a lot, have kind of come into this phase. It's kind of an important moment for us. So we really do want to say, you know, it really should feel like an evolution. We think, especially, that the force feedback quality, the responsiveness, and the speed of the space that you're going to feel punches well above the price point, and punches some of the, you know, very high end producers that I won't name. But I do have a bunch of points that I've been like approved that I can share. I can't tell you price. I can tell you it will be cheaper than Alpha, and that's a very big deal. That's something that's
Right.
been very important to us. The Alpha Evo will come in 3 ranges. The one that you're holding on to is, I believe, the 12 Newton meter variant. So this is slap bang in the middle. But it will come in 3, like the current Alpha series does. And they are 9, 12, and 18 meters. So
9, 12,
slightly
and
less,
18. Okay.
but there is good reason for that. We'll talk about that later, but the future and the way we kind of envisioning this going, and we touched on this at the Sim Racing Expo anyway, is people know we have the Zeus lineup, which is kind of our high end and modular. It's not just the wheel. We are developing a high end wheelbase as well that will come in the future. And so that'll sit firmly at the high end. That's for people who, you know, really want that headroom and really want that extra. Based on our feedback, this 18 unit area is a competitive gap, and it fits in really nicely for us. I've been testing that model and I've been impressed personally. Long term, we're also developing an entry level bundle and its own wheelbase. So eventually we will have 3. There will be the Evo, which we see as like the flagship. That is what most people will flock to. There'll be the high end, and then there'll be the entry.
Okay, wow. So there's going to be the Zeus, there's going to be that middle ground, the 9, 12, and 18, which anyone that does sim racing will know that 18 with a high quality base is more than ample, but there always is people who want a little bit more than that, and that will be Zeus. If I remember, it was put by SIMAGIC that it's the best you guys can do. You will literally do the best you can. Like, the price will reflect it, but
when we go full sim, we throw it all at the wall and we see what's the best thing we can come up with. That's supposed to be what that represents, and obviously that's not supposed to be the majority, right? But there are people out there that want that, and we want to show that we can be that brand that produces that. So for sure, that's still on the cards. But yeah, back to Evo anyway. So I will just share and pop off what I can say, and you can feel free to ask me questions along the way. But the biggest thing, like I said, is you would have heard me comment on the force feedback and the control. Immediately, what you're going to notice is we have an extremely, like, the internals are completely redone. The design of the motor is extremely low inertia, so much so that even when it's powered off, if you rotate it, you don't feel cogging. Even with the Alpha and most modern bases, if it's off, if you move it, you will still feel some cogging, but you don't. It's smooth.
Like the Alpha Mini I have behind me is already extremely smooth, but I know what you mean with this. Just for you guys, he's talking about when you move it like this, the actual friction you can feel, like, you know, it passes by the bits in the motor, I guess. Very technical term coming from someone that's also an electrician, but it's extremely smooth, and already smoother than the smooth Alpha Mini. A lot of you guys have a SIMAGIC base, so you could actually do this right now on your base and then imagine smoother. That's what this feels like.
Yeah, and so it's a new custom 5-pole servo motor. Like I said, we've got the zero cogging tech. We think it's incredible, and the initial feedback, most of our testers are on iRacing and other platforms. People are really impressed. It's just the control is really good. It's super fast. It's very responsive, and so that's been really cool. New encoder, it's a 21-bit encoder. Road feel. That I've heard some people say Alpha sometimes feels a bit dead. And now there are third-party tools like Myra for iRacing that are helping with that, but this just needs straight out of the box. The road, it just feels much more alive. And the good news is as well, some people hate that. You can tune it out, don't worry.
But you have that there. Okay, that's very interesting. Do you mind if I ask you about the encoder very quickly? why is it a big deal? Like comparing to the alpha, what was the encoder with the alpha bases? Like what kind of what is the difference between,
Uh,
let's say, the Evo encoder
I
and then the alpha encoder?
uh, don't remember specifically. Don't kill me for that. But I can tell you generally the encoder, what you're talking about is basically fidelity of the force feedback and how many
Oh,
frequencies you're kind of feeling. And
yes,
so, yeah, in general, it's just you will out of the box. You basically mean it. You hop straight on track. You have default settings. You will notice, okay, everything feels a bit more. There's a bit more going on. There's a bit more depth to the force feedback. That's kind of the point of the encoder. And that kind of works hand in hand with the force feedback algorithm.
that's awesome. I know a lot of people are
Which
really looking forward to that. That's a big thing that people have been speaking about this Evo series. That it obviously people haven't tried it yet, so wondering that it could feel a lot better with this new encoder. So that's really good news, I
yeah,
guess.
no, we're stoked. We're honestly very pleased. It's taken us a while to get this out the door. And so we wouldn't do that if we didn't feel like it was up to scratch. Um, there'll be a new Pro Manager launches as well. And so there's a couple of new extra settings. You can play around with the centered damper. That's been something that's been requested. There's something new called a force prediction filter, and a new algorithm as well, which helps. Um, moving on to this as well. Again, this is kind of extra, but I guess we put it under software because it's ecosystem. The
Okay.
base launches with an adapter specifically for people that need USB support. This adapter lets you use USB-based wheels straight into the base, so you don't need any other wires or cords. It just plugs straight into that adapter. That's been highly requested, and so that will come with the Evo as an optional accessory.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
I had some people worrying about front mounting. Relax. I know there are no screw holes, but it can be front mounted. We've developed a kind of side mounting exoskeleton that wraps around. So it can be mounted from the front, the side, or underneath. Same mounting points as the Alpha series. So that hasn't changed.
Okay.
But you might also notice from all the fins and stuff, there is brand new active cooling on it. We're like very happy with this over a long period of
Yes.
time. Yeah, performance is really good. We're very happy with this. It's very consistent. You can get constant torque for a very long session. Yeah, like I said, so it's a real evolution in that sense.
That's really
And
cool.
so
Yeah.
you would have also known, because people will ask, it's at the front, there is a customizable RGB light as well. It has some in-game effects that you'll be able to play around with. So things like the pit limiter, I think even locking up, it can flicker and flash. Admittedly, because it's at the front, if you put a big wheel mounting, unless you're playing in the dark, it's not super noticeable, but it is there. And it's, especially if you're just from like an aesthetic point of view, if you haven't got a wheel mounted or whatever, it looks pretty cool. You can like play with the light and let it kind of spiral and swirl around. So, it's just like a nice extra. I would say it's game changing. If you were at the Expo last year, you will also know we're doing magnetic docks. They won't be
Yeah.
releasing the Evo. That'll be an extra couple of months. Ideally, we'll be launching that with the Zeus modular wheel lineup. That's soon after. But we're still just making sure. I mean, because technically that's part of the Zeus series is you're supposed to have this modular dash that you can take off and then put on the base. But the infrastructure's there. You'll see it right there with the base is that you just slap it on
Yeah.
wirelessly. You'll have a dashboard and it has full sim hub support. Like I said, open ecosystem. It's a big deal to us, which is also why at the back of the Evo, you can see we have so much IO. There's like quartz for days.
Yes.
We
Future
we weren't missing
proofing.
it out.
The word
Future
is
proof.
future proofing.
So yeah, in every way, it's just meant to be a step forward, right? And this is what I
And
love.
an
It's like
on
all
off
this makes it
button
better.
too. That's
Yeah, on
always
offer instead of and there's no green light at the front yelling at you and blinding you, which has been a complaint of the offer. I don't take. The
yeah,
point
yeah,
is, it's
yeah.
really meant to be like 4 years of progress. How do we make the best base we can and still make it competitive? But like I said, all of this good stuff, and it's cheaper. That's for us, we're extremely proud of that. The people
That's
are
really
worried
cool.
about
So when you say
alpha
it's
support
cheaper,
as
so
well.
sorry if you mind me just jumping in there. From what I'm hearing, it's quite better in a lot of different ways, and the price is also going to be extremely competitive. So like it's going to be I understand that eventually the alpha may be phased out.
Yeah, no, it'll be sunsetted like for sure. I can tell you that. I
Okay.
even from my point of view, I'm still surprised with selling the like old school
Don't
GT1 wheel.
listen. Don't listen. I
Yeah,
love.
yeah, cover Zeus. But people will freak out and think, oh, what does that mean? Don't like, please don't panic. We are extremely aware of like our success and how long this base has been in the market. Like it will have future support. There's just too many bases out there that have already our alphas. We want to respect that base because that's who we are, right? Like that's been us for 4 years. So if there's future titles, they will have support and we'll be making sure of that. That's for sure. But obviously, over time, and when this is released, yeah, there wouldn't really be much reason to go for that, right? You would want to pick up the model that has the better specs and is more competitively priced. So that's the plan with this one. It's meant to be kind of thank you to the alpha, and here's the new generation.
I guess it's a compliment in a way when you think about it, because like anything, like a car, like a phone, there's always a new one. But the alpha, I guess, now maybe I'm biased as a SIMAGIC ambassador, and I love my SIMAGIC gear. I've loved my alpha, and a lot of people I know have loved their alpha as well. It's been very, very what's the word, esteemed in its reviews. You can check any review online. In general, people have talked very highly of it. So I think the only reason people are saying, well, will the alpha be phased out? This is terrible, I guess, is because of how excellent of a base it was. And then the fact it's being replaced by something touted to be of higher performance and better. I guess that's why it would only be kind of sunsetted for something like that. Really kind of makes us look
Yeah,
forward to the Evo base,
yeah, for
which
sure.
is
Like we
cool.
took our time. We took our time, and I think rightfully so. I that is one thing I like about the brand is like we definitely have probably in the past had too many things going on at the same time, and we've kind of stripped that back and you know, kind of focus our lines a little bit more. That's kind of crucial for us. But at the same time, like we won't get it out there until we're kind of happy with it.
Yep.
And the quality is up to standard. So that, yeah, that's very important to us.
So it really was in the slow cooker, low heat in the oven kind of thing.
Low heat, yeah, beautiful, beautiful stew. I think personally it tastes yeah, but I like I said, I've been testing this for a couple of weeks. I have just been generally stoked with it. I can't wait to see like what the community is gonna say. I think people are gonna love this for years to come. It's meant to be like I said, flagship, right? We want it to be something that really people love. And yeah, that's probably about the best way I can put it, to be honest. I don't think we talked about release date, but it's coming end of April. So
End
um,
of April.
we are
Okay.
now, yeah, we're now in the final stages. End of April confirmed, no later. Hard launch there. So stay tuned. It's just,
And
yeah, like I said, it's a shame that today I can't drop the prices. I can't just go bang, but I can at least
there's a
give you a little
bang
taste
coming,
of
is
what's
there?
to come. Imminent, imminent.
Wow, that's
No, but
awesome.
yeah, and yeah, at least we can share
So
this info and
just so I know, so people will be able to buy it in and around the end of April or start of May, that kind of thing. It'll be ready on the market for, because I know there's a lot of people out there sitting, waiting, and researching on what bases to get, and I guess they're seeing what's coming, what's out now. So for those people who are really
yep,
sitting on their hands and really, I'm looking for a new base. If the Evo was out now, I'd get it. It really is. You don't have much longer to wait.
imminent, imminent,
Imminent.
end of April. Yeah.
Awesome. That's some
So
really cool stuff.
yeah, I mean, do whatever you will do with that information, but that's what we can say for sure. So yeah, absolutely, it's exciting times here. And obviously, yeah, more coming in the pipeline. I mean, people saw it at the expo last year. We had a few things on display. I know a million people are going to ask us about the active pedal. I wish I could share more. It's been all
The
hands to the
active
pump
pedal.
on
Yeah, yeah,
Evo at
yeah.
the
I
moment.
was definitely going to ask about it.
Yeah, of course, for sure, and rightfully so. I mean, people saw it at the expo; they want to know because it is such a unique thing. Me and Elvin, we did an AMA. Well, not AMA. We did like a You Ask, We Answer series on YouTube. We do it
Yep.
from time to time. So to kind of reiterate, it will be, and because of the link, it's chunky, right? We talked about this. It's like it's able to be mounted straight to a P1000 or P2000 board. That's been very important to us. We still want to take this up plus modular idea and apply it to what we have now.
Okay, wow.
So
Okay,
that
yeah.
is still the intention. Yep. In terms of release date, sadly, there's nothing else I could share. Last information we had at Expo was late 2025. That's all I can say. I
Yep.
can't really share anything more about it. And that's going to piss off a lot of people. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, at least I can say that following EVO, because we did touch on it, Zeus modular wheels, our first collaborated license wheels coming as well, which is cool.
Okay.
So I'm very excited for that. Yeah, entry
And
level series, high
when
end
you say
series.
collaborative license wheel or can you kind of elaborate on what that is, or as much as you can, just for people who don't know what that means?
When we say collaboration, we're obviously working with an outside brand, which is actually first for us. So this is kind of treading new ground, but we're pretty happy with how it's going and looking. It's basically in final stages, so we can expect that pretty soon. But yeah, that'll be a limited run. Just a nice little option that we think some people might like. And I won't say too much, but I can say that other collaborated wheel products typically have been quite expensive. You probably know that. Not strictly
Yes.
just F1, but even just general, replica wheels and all that stuff. We are trying to go in the other direction. We want to show that it could be done for much less, and you still get something awesome. So stay tuned. I'll
Okay.
just say that much.
Well, that's really sick. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome to look forward to. Right. So
Just
lots of hardware being discussed about. Something I'm very curious about is, because there's wheelbases, there's steering wheels out the ears. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out in that regard. I guess for the people curious about pedals, I have to ask the pedal question. Is there any news there, or is there anything? Because what we know, you have the P2000s. Those are the hydraulic pedals for, the most hardcore sim racers, or even people that just, the P2000s can do an awful lot. They're a hydraulic pedal set. They can take a beating. The aesthetic of it is actually inviting for a beating. It is a beautiful pedal set. And then for people who prefer something a bit more lighter, there's the P1000. So for example, I love performance. I use the P1000s and I feel like they give me what I need. But a lot of people out there would jump to the P2000s. They like that kind of rigidity. They like the hydraulic. They like the stiffness of a pedal. Is there anything coming in the market of pedals or changes? And I know you said the active pedal will be, the intention is to have it accommodated on the P1000 base itself. Any news you can tell people, or any thoughts on pedals?
Oh, not much. Some information I'd say, but not too much. Like I said, we've already talked a bit about the active pedal, so to my knowledge, that hasn't changed. That's still in progress. Not much to share there, but that will remain like a modular upgrade. The P1000s have kind of like the EVO, I guess, they've kind of always been the flagship. I actually still use the P2000s. I have a couple of my creators, friends still do as well. Even Super GT's opted for that. I use them, but then people like you and even Alvin in our office, he swears by the P1000s. I think from a development point of view, the P1000s are newer and they've got all the modular upgrades and things to play with. So that I think remains the focus. We've had some pretty fair criticism though. I think if you look at Lawrence's recent video, there's a lot there, which is fair enough. We can try and do better. So that's in discussion. It depends whether or not we, try and combine the two, or if we do a V2 revision. That's still up for debate, and nothing is set in stone. But it's definitely on our radar. Shout out to him, because I think Lawrence has some pretty fair criticism for us, and we take it on the chin and just try and make something better. That's our job.
Yeah, that's very cool. I guess that's, you don't get to where you are with the products of the caliber that you guys have. You do offer a decent price to performance in that kind of context, by just getting showered in compliments. It's always the little criticisms that push you on and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, I would really just say stay tuned. It's inevitable. Someone's going to have a question about something. There's probably someone dying to know about handbrakes or shifters. I wish I had more info for you, but for now, it's all focused on the EVO, modular wheels to come, and then for the rest, stay tuned.
That's awesome. So I guess talking more about the leaning a little bit into the Zeus lineup. So we have seen stuff. We have seen a Zeus wheel recently, and it looks quite. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And I can throw up some pictures and stuff that have been out for quite a while now, just for people for reference. But
hopefully you've still got some of that sim racing expo footage, which all things going well, I'll be there, and I'm sure you'll be there too this year. that much hasn't changed. The Zeus wheels are intended to be like a, very modular kind of build your dream wheel kind of thing. The intention is still to have 3 button boxes, the ZF being the Zeus formula. Then there's I believe the ZGT, which is like the GT button box, and then there's a more round/rally kind of button box. And so there'll be those 3, and then all of them will have the ability to have interchangeable handles. I believe the Formula won't, because that's supposed to be like a Formula perfected kind of wheel, right? But sorry, the GT and the round rally wheel should have the ability to interchange those. The Formula wheel has the mag dock functionality, where it's like you'll be able to have this magnetic base, which it can be your dashboard, or if you don't like, because some people don't look at the wheel with their driving, right? I'm the same. I look at like up at the screen. If you want it a little more on eye level, then you'll throw it onto the base. And yes, it's the same thing. It has SimHub support. You can throw your dash either on the wheel or on the base itself. So that's the plan.
That's a pretty cool idea, because the thing is, most people know wheels with screens equal expensive. But if you could just buy one screen and to kind of have that, be able to be popped in and out in different places, that gives a lot of flexibility. And then I guess if you're selling the hubs, you can buy different kind of rims, which I'll show a video of now. If I remember correctly, you guys had a big wall that had loads of different kinds of options, the whole thing laid out, which was very, very interesting. There's these special shifters too, that if I remember correctly, is that part of the Zeus lineup?
Yeah, it will be. My advice is look at our recent releases to get a better idea of like A, kind of price and direction, and then B, customizability. The NeoX Hub is a fantastic example of that, where it's like, look, if you are not the type of person to be using like the double clutch, right? If you're just doing like, I don't know, pretty standard Assetto Corsa stuff, or you're even just doing rally, then the single shifter module is going to be all you need, right? And so you just pick up the round wheel, the NeoX Hub, and then the 2 pedals, and you're good. But if you're someone who's doing, I don't know, like Porsche Cup and iRacing or Formula and iRacing, right, then you definitely want to have that dual clutch for your better starts. And so then you pick up the dual clutch, and yeah, you've basically got a better option right there in front of you. It's the same idea. The push-pull shifter is going to be an option for that series. And that's a pretty exciting addition, not something that we've done before.
All right, well, that's very interesting. I'm going to ask, because you touched on it a little bit earlier. So we've spoken about the Zeus lineup there, the EVO base. Just kind of going back down a little bit now, there's going to be some cheaper stuff, more accessible stuff, some more light-powered stuff. Now, you did mention, I'm not sure how much you can say on it at the moment. What does that look like? Is this a base that's less than the Alpha Mini or the EVO 9 Newton meter base? What's that kind of look like?
Yeah, this is a market which like we barely touched for a very long time. And again, like I think maybe it's just the timing. This is why this release is kind of important for us, is like to say, guys, we're not like cheaping out. Like that's not what's happening. But of course, like we are expanding. We're a growing team, right? Like, we have the ability to take on new challenges, and that's a market which we think is pretty important. I think to paint an example of like competitors have done. I mean, look at Moza, the R3 bundle, R5, they sell like crazy, and they should. I mean, it's such an accessible product, and direct drive reliability at a competitive price point. I respect them. I think it's a fantastic move, and obviously we want to have a go ourselves, and try and have like an accessible bundle to get more people started. You and I have talked about this all the time. It's like sim racing is an awesome niche, but it's also a growing niche, right? Like growth of F1, pop-up locations like F1 Arcade. I still think somewhere maybe when we're old, like go-karting will be too expensive and people will just go like sim racing. Like there'll be like the initial D90s arcades with the card, it's like I kind of see a rough same thing, but with QR codes, and like you can go do your iRacing in a local place, and there's like local competition. I maybe I'll be an early investor, I don't know, but
I'll join you on
fully
that one.
anticipate. Yeah, man, I fully anticipate that's where it's eventually going to go. And so how do we get that crowd in? We make it a very competitive option for parents, for whoever to get into it. We
That's
support,
very interesting.
esports. But I will plug it because it's relevant, especially to a region. We are working as a prize provider for Esports UK, for one of their championships at the moment on iRacing. We're giving away a couple of GT Neos and I believe an Alpha Mini for the winner. that's just an example. We want to also be out there, like, supporting the industry and, like, getting young people involved in our little hobby. It's such an awesome niche, like I said, but it's growing.
It only makes sense, I guess, to have a cheaper, more affordable, more smaller, more contender, because I guess the day of the Logitech G29 always being the entry, eventually a direct drive as a first wheel can be feasible, can be financially possible, and just financially make sense as a wheel that may last. So belt driven, it done its thing. It was absolutely amazing, but now it's such such technology, like what's right behind you with the Evo, only if you guys could just shrink it down and put that at a price point to match, that's a really cool thing to offer people. Sure. That's awesome.
For sure. Yeah. It is cool. It's cool that that's potentially your option. Like I said, if I was 17, 18 and like I immediately got my hands on something that stocky and like reliable, that's just awesome, because I still remember my old, like, the G25, whatever, like, man, like mounting that thing to my desk and then all the juddery shaking, like, it really wasn't, even at that time, at that period, I was like, okay, this is cool, but like, oh my, this is is it okay? Like,
this is cool, but that plastic on plastic, there was this sound effect that it's just like, is it okay?
Yeah. I still remember like those freaking just like adjusting the desk. Just so much plastic, So yeah, this is for us, like, that's very much something that we might tap into. But again, because I know we have like so many fans out there who are like very much mid to high end, like we really are not going anywhere. Like, we are super passionate. We love our iRacing. We love our high end. Like, that's where our job is, to bring the competitive high end into that more accessible price range without making, huge sacrifices. So, so far I think we've done an okay job, and hopefully this next launch will prove that we still do that.
Okay, well, that's really, really interesting. And can I ask one thing that I guess people might be interested in knowing? I see there's a few, it's interesting, there's some hardware in the sense of wheelbases and pedals delving into rigs, and there's some people who make rigs delving into hardware, electrical hardware, let's say. Is that something SIMAGIC is thinking about? I think it was mentioned in an interview with the SimPit quite a long time ago as just a spitball idea. Is that anything that's on the cards, like a complete bundle, let's say, for someone who wants to do, let's say, sim racing in their sitting room?
Yeah,
a rig of sorts?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, go and look at our YouTube. Go and look at Alvin do some laps. Go and look at some of our pro material. That is basically a concept of a SIMAGIC rig. Wow. It's kind of like a blend of 80/20, but with a few extra panels and pieces. Still pretty minimalist. Solid as hell. Extremely solid. And we actually domestically released a seat. It's just not ready for international for whatever reason. I think it's just primarily like logistics. But that's pretty much a thing. Like, we are
it's on the cards.
Well.
It's definitely on the cards.
On the cards for sure. Like I said, I think events and like places to go and experience gear as well is also still a big deal. So like, we want to make sure if we ever have key partners that we're working with, that we can just show up and go, oh, look, it's all SIMAGIC. That's why we did a whole ecosystem as well, right? So that is very much like something on the cards, and something that we're actively considering. I think it's a very safe way to word it. But hardware has always been our meat and potatoes, and so it's back to the meat and potatoes.
Right. Well, Elliot, come here. Thank you very much for your time. I'm looking at the time here. It's 45 minutes. That's a decent, nice chunk for an interview. I'm sure we could stretch this out for hours. I definitely could. Anyone that watches my videos know I could literally, we have this expression in Ireland, I could talk for Ireland. So I don't want to keep you for too long. I think we've touched on a lot of cool hardware, and I'm sure we'll definitely be seeing you again on the channel. But thanks so much for coming down and having a chat about all things SIMAGIC, cool gear, sim racing, and just, thank you very much.
I hope the next time I'm on this channel, we're on iRacing. No, I'm just kidding. Do this, of course. I love doing this. I hope that, you'll hopefully see more of me, and the community will probably also see more of me in places as I kind of get accustomed to this role. It's a bit of a step up, but it was stoked. Like I said, just stay tuned. It's going to be an exciting couple of months. and plenty more to come in the line. So yeah, do just stay tuned. And again, yeah, appreciate you setting this up, man.
That's awesome. Thanks very much. And yeah, maybe the next interview can be bumper to bumper and Mazda's on iRace, and that'd be a nice.
Don't even get me started. That's the truth.